I don't normally use my 4.2 metre long Quicksilver rib until the month of May, preferring to use my smaller and more economical F-rib during the colder months. However, the start of April promised some exceptionally sunny weather, so I couldn't resist getting the Inflatable cabin cruiser, which is my affectionate term for the Quicksilver rib, on the go and have my first multi-day adventure at sea. I planned to spend a few days sleeping on board the boat and going round the lovely Island of Mull, visiting some remote islands off its western coast. I travelled around 160 miles over 3 days, and this video illustrates that adventure. I launched from my home port of Tainault in Loch Etive, as I have the advantage I can take the car and trailer back to the house instead of leaving them on the shore. It was a lovely blue sky morning, and I left in the 7 a.m. tide, heading down Loch Etive towards the Connell Bridge, and then the open sea. As I headed off to enjoy myself, I watched the morning rush hour traffic heading for our workplaces. I recalled the days I was one of them, wishing that I was in the boat, heading to sea in such wonderful weather. The falls of Laura under the Connell Bridge were near neap tides, so not much flow to rock the boat. And soon I was passing Dunstaffnage Marina and entering the Firth of Lorne. The Island of Mull looked a little blue in the horizon, due to a morning haze. I decided to go clockwise round the island, as the winds of late had been a bit blustery, and although the forecast was for light winds from the south-east, if I went clockwise and the winds did rise, they would blow me up the exposed western coast of Mull, instead of me fighting against them. Also, coming back via the Sound of Mull is more sheltered than returning via the south coast of Mull when the wind is from that direction. Of course, I was totally flexible and didn't require to go right round Mull. I could return either way, the weather dependent. I followed the coast of Carrera until just before reaching Back Island, where I set a diagonal course across the Firth of Lorne, heading for the entrance of Loch Spelvey in Mull. The sea was in great condition with hardly any waves, so I kept a constant cruising speed of around 15 miles per hour. Although the sun was warm, the wind was still very cold and I was feeling it, so I headed for a small pebble beach at the mouth of Loch Spelvey, to land and have a heat in the sun away from the bitter breeze. Sitting any length of time in a small boat is like being on a motorbike. It can get cold even in good weather. However, the sun and coffee soon warm my bones, and I love soaking in the atmosphere of being at sea again. Relaxed, refreshed and relieved, I put on my windproof smock and top of the jacket to keep warm and then headed off. My rough plan for the day was to traverse the southern coast of Mull, then moor up for the night in one of the sandy coves in the Ross, the very southwestern tip of the island. I loved the high cliffs and barren coastal scenery on this stretch of the journey, between Loch Spelvey and Malcolm's Point, just beyond Loch Buie. I was fair enjoying my day, and the miles flew past, even though I was only doing around 15 miles per hour. Approaching Frank Lockwood's island, I knew Loch Buie was just round the corner. I often camp at the head of the sea loch, but this time around it was too early in the day to think of stopping. Besides, I wanted to sleep on board the boat that night, and there are some stunning locations to do that in the Ross of Mull. I was now approaching Malcolm's Point. I looked forward to seeing one of my favourite natural landmarks in Mull, the Carsig Arches. And just beyond the arches, the high cliffs form a natural amphitheatre, where the sound of a wonderful waterfall echoes around the cliff tops. I saw a couple of eagles flying high above this scene, but my camera couldn't focus on them as they were that high, effortlessly guiding on an upward thermal. Not long later, the high grey cliffs lose height, and in reaching Ardlanish, the rocks then turn to pink granite, a very distinctive characteristic of the Ross of Mull. And of course, the pink granite coves host lovely white sandy beaches, which turn the sea an emerald green when the sun shines. I decided to stop and land for a coffee and a bask in the sun at Craiggiel, the first large sandy cove I came to. And if this is not a little part of paradise, then I don't know what is. I could have happily moored up here for the night if I didn't know the Ross so well. There are half a dozen sheltered sandy coves along the south side, and I wanted to check them all before deciding which to stay in. I headed out the bay through some narrow, shallow channels between rocky reefs. I discounted the first wee bay as I felt there were too many rocks guarding the sand. The one round the next corner looked more promising, but I continued ever onwards towards the sheltered sound of a raid. It was too busy for my liking, though, with people walking along the sands and a catamaran already moored there for the night. The last bay I knew very well, as I've often pitched my tent here. It's David Balfour's Bay, named after Robert Louis Stevenson's hero and his novel Kidnapped. The boat David had been kidnapped on was shipwrecked on the Torren Rocks not far from the bay. David survived and was washed ashore here. I landed for a leg stretch and to let the drone have a look around. And yes, you guessed it, another little piece of paradise. And once again I could have easily moored up here for the night. But because I always camp here, I decided to backtrack to a sandy bay called Port Maron. It's not the best bay for camping in a tent, but it looked an ideal spot to moor up for the night. It's not as popular as the other coves, so I knew I wouldn't be disturbed here, assuming the seals left me alone. It only took minutes to set up my canvas cabin, and I was looking forward to a good night's sleep. One of the problems of camping in the Island of Mull is the large swells can suddenly start if there's a wind out at sea, and several times I've had to help the boat refloat in Balfour's Bay when swells started during the night. Being afloat all night should avoid that problem. I brought my chair ashore and had a well-earned rest, soaking in the sun like a big sand lizard. Then it was time to let my hair down and enjoy the atmosphere of this special place. Even the big old moon looked down and smiled at me as I went a walk along the sands. The walk helped build my appetite, so my next stop was to get supper started. It's times like this that make my adventures. The older I have become, the more I enjoy my own solitude, well away from the madding crowds. It's the simple things in life that suit me most now. Sitting in paradise, getting supper cooked, then washing it down with a tin of gravy or two. It was sorts of moments like this that kept me going through the long dark winter months, and I'm delighted to say is now making the most of them. I eventually clambered back into the boat and anchored it in 15 feet of water, so it wouldn't bottom out at low tide. I happily fell fast asleep, but awoke during the night. I'd be dreaming of large swells hitting the shore, and I could still hear waves hitting the beach now I was awake. I looked out the canvas cabin and was relieved to see everything was still as it should be. Only a swell around a foot high was making the noise on the shore. There I was, the gentle rising and falling of the boat, sent me back to sleep, and I slept soundly till morning. I hope you enjoyed the video so far, and will return to see the rest of it. Thanks for watching.